Awesome. So, firstly, guys,
Thank you.
thank you for joining us. Today with us, we have Krish Ramnani. He's one of the co-founders of Togglehead. He has, literally worked with brands like Pops, MAC Cosmetics, HDFC. I think Togglehead's just completed 9 years, Krish, if I'm not wrong.
Actually, yeah, we just completed 9 years. You can say that we're running in our 10th year now.
Awesome. And Krish is also a podcaster, public speaker. I think he's also been teaching and is also an angel investor. So a lot of hats being donned over there.
I just co-authored a book which was the #1 bestseller on Amazon last week.
Oh wow, okay. That's another update.
Yeah,
What's that
so
book about, Krish?
it's basically about digitalizing real estate. A lot of nuggets into prop tech and different spaces. How like a lot of stuff can be kind of digitalized in real estate. Since that industry, surprisingly, nobody knows this, but it caters to more than 300 auxiliary industries.
Okay. Wow.
So,
Okay.
just the digital revolution and how it can be completely like digitalized. So that's what the book is about.
Very interesting. Great. So Krish, the reason we wanted to have this chat with you and are delighted to be hosting you is we engage with a lot of people, and a very common question that I often hear is how do we get a job at an agency, how do we work with some of the best organizations or the best brands out there,
Hmm.
right? And I thought no one better than you to sort of come have a chat with and share this insight
Hmm.
to a lot of the budding learners out there. So we're going to straight dive into that actually. But before getting into an organization, I thought the first question we should ask you, and something we should learn from you is, what are the most lucrative career paths in you think in 2020 when it comes to the world of digital marketing? Right? What
That's a
should
very,
people start gearing up for?
very interesting question. I've got that a lot. So the thing is that I'm going to answer this slightly differently, right? There's no one particular field in digital marketing that's lucrative than the other, because it would do injustice to the entire pool of talent, because you see digital is a skill set by itself and the world is massive. And the way digital evolved overnight to where it is today, there has been a huge evolution in the industry in the last 10 years. So there's nothing that is like, one field that is more lucrative than the other, because that would not do justice to the entire talent pool that we have around. But I can say one thing for sure, that within the scope of digital, I would rather have, you know, budding students and people who are aspiring a career in this space tend to choose their focus area of operation. Because I think when you choose your focus area of operation, the scope is unlimited. And when I say focus area, I'd also mean like specialization. So, like whether it's performance marketing, whether it's ad marketing, whether it's copywriting, content, or even graphics design, anything that is a very specialized field, I think the scope of that is unlimited, because then you end up becoming a jack. What we've seen also, like I'm sure from your lens and even our lens, we've seen is people come as designers, then they want to jump to UI UX, then they want to jump to SEO, thinking one field
Mhm.
is more lucrative than the other. But they're not realizing that today digital marketing requires a command of specialization, and that specialization is basically putting in all those years of hard work. Like they say that quote, right? I'm not charging you $500 for 30 minutes. I'm charging you
Yeah.
$500 to put in all my experience that has backed me so that I can complete this task in 30 minutes. So, keeping that saying in mind, I think keeping this very much intact, it's not about how lucrative the space is. Each role, if you're a specialist in it, it can definitely be extremely lucrative for you.
So go deep, basically, right? We
100%.
actually, in the start itself in our course, we nudge our learners to pick a specialization, or area where they want to major in a couple of areas they should minor, so that
Right,
they can start building that area of expertise.
right.
Um,
Definitely.
So I think if I had to summarize what you just said in in one line is grass isn't greener wherever you see the latest trend or where you see your friend jumping. It's basically greener where you're watering it, right? Where you're going, learning more
Typically,
and
yeah,
getting
typically
deeper.
that. And the problem is that we've seen so much from that whole Three Idiots kind of a format where engineers becoming a photographer and the grass is greener on the other side, what you said.
Mm.
That skepticism, like, okay, that's a one-off case. But what happens with digital marketing, the beauty is that if you're a specialist in one field, if you don other hats, it's an added on to your career. Because, for example, if you're a graphic designer who knows copy,
Mm-hmm.
or a graphic designer who knows creative, or you're a motion designer who can think about a viral campaign, that hat that you don by itself makes you a product which is unique.
True.
But you're staying true to your roots. You're not trying to be shifty. But today, because it's digital marketing, it starts at one circle, but it loops back to the entire universe. So even if you pick your area of expertise, having knowledge in other fields, like to explore your enthusiasm, donning all those hats will just add to your career profile, and that
Awesome.
eventually makes you indispensable.
No, makes complete sense. Actually, so taking that a step forward. So in that case, when you're hiring for someone, right?
Right.
What is it, or when a a top tier agency is hiring for someone, what is it that you're looking for? Maybe the top three qualities that you value the most, or what is that which you're scanning for, which if you see in a resume, it sparks your attention.
So my rules are, I think, from a hiring standpoint, are pretty clear. The first thing is basically the background from where he comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's fresher or whether it's top flight experience, it's basically the background and what his journey has been so far. Because personally, and I'll justify each line, right? I believe that knowledge is everywhere. It's about how you absorb it. So that your background is extremely important. Number two, the willingness and the ability to learn. See, you read a lot of these things like today, the culture that we come from, everything that we do goes on LinkedIn. Every interview that
Mm-hmm.
people take goes on LinkedIn, whether they're right or not. And it goes as like a note, whatever interview experiences they had. And
Yeah.
it's very seldom where entrepreneurs get a chance to or HR managers get to share their experience in the hardships that they face. Maybe they just don't have the time. So,
True.
it's all hunky dory to say that see the potential in the student, give them a chance, or, see the potential in the candidate. At the end of the day, you're not running a school, you're running an organization with a very tight culture. So, once you know what your culture is, you have to see number one, is this person a culture fit or not? Whether it's your language, communication, thought process, your modus operandi, everything matters. A guy could be from a top tier agency, he could be a top tier candidate. But if he's a culture misfit, then you're just creating one bad apple in your entire basket. And another thing that people don't realize from an entrepreneur's angle, one wrong hire could last them even 9 months in the system before they actually come out. Because there's a
True.
lot involved to actually come into the system. So there's a lot at stake there. So for us, it's mainly more than willingness to learn, because I think that's basically how you groom them. It's basically the ability and the capability for them to grasp things. Because on the job, when you're evolving so fast, there is no time to sit and give them spoon feeding about explaining to them business models, or different kinds of businesses and what they need to market. That kind of knowledge has to be intrinsic. So it's mainly about the adaptability and ability to grasp things. And third things which are non-negotiable is definitely the technical skills in what they're being hired to do. And that is a very solid thumb rule at our organization. What we also see as a second layer is your communication skills and your soft skills as well. Like I did mention to you, like your culture fit and soft skills are extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're being hired, sometimes you get a lot of candidates, right? Sir, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this. Riffraff aside, be specific. Please tell me your relevant experience and what capability do you have for the role you've been hired for complete that job because you're going to be judged on that. Everything else could be a bonus point, but I'm not judging you basis your extracurriculars.
Got it.
Extracurriculars just tell me that your seriousness towards your course, program, school, or whatever you're doing, which tells me a little more about your personality. But it's mainly about ability, and non-negotiable is the technical skills that you're being hired for.
Sure. Okay. So, actually, so for a learner who's watching this, right, for them to imagine what their CV should look like, or, what they should work on today so that their CV encompasses these 3, 4 qualities that you mentioned, right, or
Right,
showcases their ability. What would
right.
be your top suggestions for them, right? What should they focus on, or what should they strive to showcase via their profile?
What exactly they're looking for in the profile, and how they can add value, and how they will take what it takes to carry the torch to the finish line in that particular field what they're applying for. And be razor sharp focused and speak about that particular field only.
So, what can you do for the org in that role, basically?
In that role, what can you do for that organization, why you should be hired? These are all cliched YouTube questions which people have cracked in inside out.
Hmm.
It's basically what justice are they doing to that role, what have they built, and what efforts have they taken to fill in that shoes in that role. Today, I have seen in my career so many people, if anybody is watching them, you know who I'm talking about, in our organization who started as an intern and who have come out to be directors,
Okay.
where they've come in, they've put in their hearts and soul to fill in the shoes of that role, taken the torch and literally proved themselves year after year and shown themselves and the organization significant growth for that particular role of the hat that they are donning, while obviously absorbing other skills as well, but it's mainly focused towards that. Today when you go, it's very simple, right? Today if you have a problem and you go to a doctor, you don't want a generalist, you want a specialist.
True, of course. That's definitely there. No one wants to go to a. If you have a heart thing, then you want to go to a heart doctor, right? Not a general
Exactly.
physician.
A generalist will tell you this possibly could be a condition, but you should definitely visit a specialist in order to
Confirm.
justify or confirm or diagnose whatever the micro issue is. So that's pretty much what we're looking at. Now, so many times we get interviews, sir, we've done SEO. I like graphic designing, but I'm applying for paid media. Can you launch an ad? No, sir, but I will learn.
So, what's the best way to showcase that I have done it in the past? Any particular example, maybe
See,
you can
okay,
share
I'll
where.
tell you something. A good question. What I'm going to do is like, if I had to apply, right? Let's put it this way, right? If I had to apply, what would I do? In case,
Sure.
in case I had to apply to somebody, say I had to apply to you, Shonit, on a in professional capacity.
Hmm.
Before me even having a conversation with you, I need to make myself feel worthy of the job, right? So, do I
Sure.
have the confidence enough? Am I worthy of the job? That's my first introspection. Number two, what what opportunities have I seized that have come my way using a platform or the institute that I studied from or the platform that I studied from, like Career Ninja or something like that, to seize my opportunity where I want to go, right?
Hmm.
And in case I'm still not sure, which is a 60-70% case scenario, I would definitely apply in something a more generalist role, like a servicing or a business development role, where I'm able to at least absorb how, you know, I'm able to communicate to clients and start learning what clients require. So then in the future, if I'm still not sure when I'm at the entry point, I'll want to at least polish my communication skills, polish my documentation skills from a generalist angle, saying that, okay, I can add value that today, if you put me to service your customer, I'll put my heart and soul to make sure that your customer is happy. And during this process, I'm trying to learn what exactly are my pain points of the customer so that tomorrow, if I want to say go into a more specific field like a performance or an ad or a copywriting or something, at least I have that kind of knowledge what the customer is expecting in case I want to move to a generalist role. If I'm working towards a more specific role, if I'm able to lucky to already have that, like whether it's an SEO or a performance marketing, in my limited capacity, showcase what micro case studies I've done or what depth research or what projects I've done, keeping this as my major and how I can actually add value. And I'm very sure that this is my career path. So maybe a degree of passion also adds a lot of value, which you come while you're trying to sell yourself.
Got it. So, can you give me an example of, a particular applicant who really stood out for you? What did they do, or how did they communicate, or how did they showcase?
So
Uh,
I'll tell you about one coder who I met. Okay, and because I'm an engineer, I'm very particular about the coders that I hire. This coder was very interesting in that sense. Um, he told me that, sir, give me the internship. I said, okay, tell me, like, what are we talking about? He's saying, sir, this is the application I've made. This is what I know. Okay. And this is what I've studied. He actually went, he followed us. He opened one of our websites that had recently launched. He found a small gap and found and wrote an optimized snippet in front of me saying, sir, this is, in my opinion, a better way to solve this problem, what you've just launched. Just give me the chance. Whatever the problem statement is, I am willing to do it. Wherever I'm stuck, you give me guidance. But this is, I'm very sure that I want to be in this culture. I was left speechless. I said, this guy knows what he's talking about, and I think he really stands out from everybody else.
so you could live demonstrate that I can help you, right? You didn't have to think twice about
Not
it.
help me, prove himself. Not
Got
help
it.
me. When people say I'm doing the organization a favor, of course, yes, definitely to a certain extent, but it's mainly about proving your ability and capability. And what I feel is lacking in today's time is that element of seriousness.
Hmm.
Like, is what we've noticed, like especially with freshers, 90% of the people apply to jobs for the sake of applying to it.
Okay, they're not necessarily interested in the role. Is
Not really interested in the role, not inclined to working, not serious, doing an internship for the sake of it, or it's mandated, or just killing time, something like that.
so.
So
So that's why it gets more important for the guys who are serious to actually demonstrate their interest by doing
yeah,
something like this.
like when you see a serious student, you can just tell in a second. See, I'll tell you one other higher trick, right? A CV is very seldom taken to judgment because today's CVs, 90% of them are even false. Like,
Hmm.
if they literally made even one comma on a document for Microsoft, work on Microsoft, you know,
Okay, of course.
and
And there's no
then
way to gauge.
no, and then what happens is that, so obviously we know this. So then we ask them, okay, Sonit, what was your role towards this project very specifically? Please highlight that. So
Got it.
if they say that, okay, I have won an award-winning campaign for, say, SEO, then if that person is able to passionately explain the campaign and the thought process behind it, means it's his work. If he's talking about the results, anybody can read a case study and talk about it.
True. Or you can just have played a tiny role in that and yeah,
Exactly.
write about it.
And when you're talking to a top tier agency, people know the kind of challenges that you may see during this process of winning this award. Those challenges are real and they're practical. So when you try when a hiring professional tries to look for the practical ground reality challenges, that's when they come to know what the truth is.
Got it.
So
Interesting.
to summarize, basically, how does somebody stand out? Number one, apply if you're serious. Number two, make sure you ask yourself if you feel that yourself is worthy of it. What is the prep time that you've done towards it, and why you should, and passionately explain through your entire modus operandi towards that role. Whether it's at college level, whether it's at internship level, whether it's that just taking that extra mile to proving to that person ki he's in it to win it and not just to waste time.
And when it comes to again working at a good organization, right? So we spoke about what should be there in the CV, what should be demonstrated in an interview, but even before that, right? To ensure that someone gets the CV, one takes a look. What do you think is the best way to approach an organization? Maybe, if someone had to approach Togglehead for a role, what would be the 2 or 3 best ways to get in front of Togglehead, ensure you get some attention?
Number one, if today, so I've seen a lot of these attention seeking things that people do in a good way. Like for example, if you're applying to a very big company, like say Zomato or something on those lines, we've seen people going crazy, creating ad campaigns, go on posting it, nudging people, saying that if anybody knows, connect me to this. I'm really passionate about this, and I've been chasing this for 2 years. This, that, this, that. So that is obviously one strategy. But in a more normalized way, specifically for agencies, there are multiple routes. Number one is that you apply through the general website. Number two, in case you are from a say a marketing institute, like something like a Career Ninja, and there is an opportunity to get seized from that opportunity. Uh, so you can apply through a channel, for example, if they are getting an opportunity. Number three, to counter stop that, like if you can reach out to people from the role on LinkedIn and just have a private chat or just a conversation. See, sometimes it can work in your favor, sometimes it can be, presented as intrusive. But I think the way you portray yourself, just to have a chat with somebody and be like, hey, listen, that shows that the candidate has applied through the official channels as well, but also from a different angle, saying that he's really interested, where he's reached out to people and he gets a good response saying, yeah, I just like to have a chat or something like that. And the third way is obviously to get through a reference. So a combination of these three, four things will definitely get you noticed.
Got it. And do you think one must do something fancy or extremely over the top to get attention, or you think just reaching out on LinkedIn with a nice message is enough to
See,
get attention?
again, see LinkedIn again on a larger organization that tactic doesn't work, right? Because people get that dime a dozen. So these are like small things that people used to take initiatives on, and now they've become templates, and people have kind of hacked that,
Hmm.
right? It's become a norm. So there is basically you have to try and stand out in your own way that brings out your personality. Whether you put in an effort, whether you put in some sort of attention, you don't have to always go, to what these people are doing by creating these insane campaigns and stuff like that. But just small nuggets, what you can do in your own way, along with a CV that you stand out rather than being something, than being the crowd. I think that will obviously, give you at least an opportunity to present yourself.
Understood.
Like, what happens, Ronit, unfortunately, if someone has written a success story, hey, I reached out to the team lead and then I reached out to the founder, and also I told them, also I applied to the website. He'll tell his friend and they'll put a note on this on LinkedIn. So now people think, oh, this is an interview hack. You know how people talk about these interview hacks,
Hmm.
how
Yeah.
these top 10 questions to prepare for, then they write all these problem solutions, what they talk for these Navy officers and
Hmm.
IPS officers and all that, IAS officers, those puzzles and all that. You should know this, you should know that. So they think that these are interview hacks. They don't realize that these people are not trying to hack the interview. They're just trying to stand out in their own personal way, where they get where they get visibility for their own resume. And
Understood.
what happens? What the adverse impact? What happens on recruiters is that people, you start this same pattern, this same process becomes a pattern. So then are you actually standing out? No, you're not. So it's very subjective. It's
So you
basically
gotta you gotta follow your own personality and base it on that,
and try and
right?
stand out in your stand try and stand out in your own possible way. Whether it's at networking, getting a reference, just trying not to be intrusive, but just saying that how eager you are and how serious you are about it in your own way. And the moment get your opportunity, seize the moment.
Got it. I think that's going to be very. These are some things that's going to be very useful for all the early learners. Um, you had a long career, Krish, from an entrepreneurship perspective, right? If you had to, share one or two key learnings that you've gotten from this long journey for people who are starting their careers today, right? Or maybe are in the early stages of their career, what would that be?
Sorry, I lost the last line.
One or two key learnings from your entrepreneurial career,
Uh,
that you would like to share with people who are in the early stages of their career?
oh, I would love to. There's so many. Number one, I know it sounds cliche, but do not be afraid to fail. Definitely do not be afraid to fail. They say if you never try, you never know. You rather say
Mhm.
oops than what if. And I've said this many times. So never be afraid to fail, because every time you fail in its own capacity becomes a learning for you, and you know that that route is closed rather than left unexplored. You know, like it brings me back to a puzzle. You remember those small drawing book puzzles that we had as a kid? Make the
Yeah.
rabbit find his carrot.
Hmm.
There's nobody, unless it's out of luck, that they've taken a ball pen and found the same path in one try.
Yeah,
If
you have
you've
to
got it
keep
in the
going like
first
this,
try,
you'll
it's
get stuck.
yeah, like if you've got it in the first try, you're lucky. Second time you've got it in the first try, lucky. Third time you will definitely get stuck somewhere else. So basically, when you take that ball pen and if you have to mandatory draw a path towards the rabbit reaching his carrot, you would definitely get stuck in couple of ways. But then if
Hmm.
you have three options, even if the third option is right, you have to try all three options to get to get the carrot. And that's the message I'm trying to give, that the objective is the carrot and not the path. The path, you can draw it out, you can figure it out, but don't be afraid to fail.
Understood. No, that's very important, especially in the start when you're just exploring, right? You don't even know what all exists, what domains exist, where can I actually build a niche, what may be the best career for me, a lot of trial and error even there. So,
Also, another thing is that try and find, I mean, this is a very difficult question or a difficult statement, because for me it was very easy for me, like as a child I had an aptitude for a certain thing, certain set of things, and I was a very passionate person and an extrovert by personality. I was not afraid to call 1 1 and 0 0. And I was the kind
mhm.
of person, like just from personal experience, to like, if I saw anything, I would not be those guys like, oh wow. I would be like, oh how. Like if they can do it, why can't I? If this has
A lot
happened,
of some really nice one-liners you're throwing in, Krish.
yeah. So the thing is like, it's when you see something, you're so mesmerized, you like, yeah, the fact that you're asking, oh how, means that wow is already inbuilt in you. So instead of getting mesmerized by the wow, let's try and focus on on the solution, on what is the pathway of achieving that. Ki one day in life I want to build something like this. So
Makes sense.
for,
Yeah.
for a smaller person, I think a sense of curiosity is very important. Sense of curiosity, extremely important. But then again, since we read all these personality types, curiosity is something that an introvert may not generate because he feels that a little shy to even generate curiosity in the first place. So that does not mean they don't have a space in advertising or in digital, because a lot of introverts are the best writers, right? Because their observational skills are very great. So even if they find something that they're passionate about, whether it's towards, for example, a people's person, no doubt he can be a great fit for a client servicing or a business development role, because he's great with conversations, he's great with
Hmm.
making conversation, making good with, great with building relationships with people. So these are also skills in its own way. So if you're not able to find a technical skill, try and find a soft skill that you're passionate about. So at least that, with the guidance of professionals or seniors, you're able to at least narrow down the pathway that you want to take.
Got it.
Like for example,
Um,
even in investment banking, right? Most of the best bankers are underwriters who sit on the back office, but they have a knack for modeling. They have a knack for They have a knack for finance modeling, knack for numbers, knack
mhm.
for a certain hard skill set which they feel they're passionate about. So then that really makes them specialists in the field. So
That's like their secret sauce ultimately
their secret
from
sauce.
their own
So
source.
today, what is your secret sauce? Do you have a talent or an inclination towards a particular technical field? Like for example, designing is artistic. You can learn the software, but I think design is, it's a creative, it's a left brain, it's a creative
Mhm.
It's a creative thing. And I feel people who are designers, they're gifted, they're talented, they can be extremely creative. So if you
Got
don't
it.
find your aptitude in a technical or a creative field at the earlier age, try and find a personality skill that you feel that you can capitalize on, that will at least make you narrow down your options.
Fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. Very nice way to get started. In the meanwhile, Krish, I'm going to ask you one last question from my end, which is again a very common Ali asked question, right? And actually, something I would also be curious about is, can you give us, according to you, what are the top three growth hacks when it comes to Instagram followers?
Uh, Again, very, very common question. And in fact, I had somebody calling me last night who's an influencer stuck at 105K saying that, Krish, I'm not able to go further. Another auntie called me. She's saying, I'm a mommy blogger for a very long time. I'm not able to grow further. What should I do? Should I hire an agency? And again, the secret sauce to this answer is very clear. Again, it's a process, it's a framework, it's a process, it's a framework.
Mhm.
So the process, if anybody follows comedy, like, or any YouTuber, if you follow that person from the first video to the last video, right? There are patches in the middle where their viewer counts either fluctuate or they remain consistent. But that should motivate them to even do better than that. A simple logic, okay? So I'll tell you one small thing mathematically. If you have 500 followers and your content is being viewed by 3,000 people, just by sheer mathematics, the likeliness of you getting more followers from that piece of content is higher, right? Because you've
Of
got
course.
more visibility than you already should have got. Agreed?
True.
So that's one thing. That's the first mathematical formula. Number two, be consistent with your content, don't lose hope. Number three, don't try to emulate other people, bring out your own personality, whether it's a brand, whether it's a personal blogger, whether it's a content creator. People want to watch you for you. People want to watch Shah Rukh Khan for Shah Rukh Khan and not see Salman in them. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yes.
You have to bring out your own uniqueness, your own flavor. People don't go to a Chinese restaurant expecting Indian food, right?
True.
So you have to bring out your own flavor and bring out you in you. Why do people want to follow you? That is the only way that you're going to get more followers. Start getting nuggets and feedback and start. See, today you have 10 scripts that you want to create reels for. Chalo, you're riding on trends, of course, riding on trends and all that, which is part of the framework and the content plan that is definitely going to get you some sort of visibility. But are you going to be just following and blindly copying a trend, or are you going to add your own masala, your own style to it? Today, for example, if you're a food blogger and suddenly you talk about healthcare, you're not emulating your personality. People are following you because they want to see what food you are eating or what food you are talking about or what food
Hmm.
they can experience through your lens. So staying true to your personality is extremely important. And again,
Got it.
today it's such a competitive space of brands, Instagram, bloggers, creators. You know, what are you doing as a brand to stand out?
Awesome. Thank you, Krish. This has been very insightful and I think very valuable for those who've attended the select learners and a lot more people who are going to watch this once we turn this into a video and spread your message out. So I think a large number of learners will be able to credit some learning to you. So thanks for your time
Thank you
and
so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on Career Ninja.
awesome. And yes, we'll be in touch.
All right. All right,
Great.
guys. Hope you have a good evening. See you, Shonit. See you, everybody. Talk to you
See
guys
you.
soon.
Thank you everyone for joining.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye.